regardless of what governors think about this, we have one economy that we're running in this country. And what I know from my reading of the 2021 Appropriation Act, there is no provision for subsidy in that act. So, theoretically, there is no subsidy. And when the price of crude in the international market was around $40 or thereabouts, the pump price also went down. Naturally, in every country, it's a no-brainer. When the pump price, when the crude price goes up, pump price also goes up. In fact, in countries like the United Kingdom, almost double when that happens, because there's a huge provision of tax in the consumption of PMS, and they also want to discourage many people from using PMS in this age of renewable energy.
Because they also have plenty of alternatives.
Exactly, they have plenty of alternatives. In our case, I am sure you know, my sister, that kerosene had been deregulated more than a decade now, which is what most ordinary people, poor people, use. Diesel, AGO, has also been deregulated. So PMS is the one that is a big challenge for us. At least that's the way we see it at the level of the Governors Forum. And we feel that we need to begin to look at an alternative. The alternative, thankfully, that we have argued for and that the federal government is also pursuing vigorously is the gas expansion program. So that once you can convert to gas, and there are incentives, particularly for transporters, to convert to gas without any loss of quality in their vehicles. And there is also a facility provided for them to do this without paying out of pocket. I believe we need to gradually move away from this obsession that we clearly have all cultivated with PMAs, because we hear that we are consuming 60 million liters or thereabouts daily. The truth of the matter is, everybody that I've spoken to in the industry knows that we are not consuming anywhere above 30 million in Nigeria. So where does that 30 million go to? Our neighboring countries. Why are we reluctant to do what is necessary to curb that? If our immigration, security, customs are not able to do that.
We locked the border down at some point. Were we getting figures any different from what our current consumption is?
Well, we may lock the border down with the border still providing alternative exit routes. That's not impossible or unlikely.
And we were told that we're paying the market price of petrol for petrol at some point. It went down, it was gone up. It's now that it's about to.
So why is it that
go up astronomically?
Why is it that we have chosen it? Because the president, as you know, is very, very wary of anything that might constitute more than a manageable increase for ordinary people. That's the.
So it is true that, you know, what the price, I mean, that has been, PPRA came out recently.
The price that is being paid now
is 212 naira is what they're proposing.
If they
from 165 or 160, depends on which filling station you go to.
If they go by the calculation of what the crude oil price is today.
Indeed. So what I'm saying is we're looking at least a 50 naira increase, which is rather steep, you know, on a litre of petrol. Now, the argument of Labour is we cannot continue in import-driven, deregulated economy when we produce
which we agree with.
Crude oil.
We agree with. I totally subscribe to that argument that Labour has made.
Yes.
And both the private sector is doing quite a bit about that.
Yes.
From what I know, the Dangote Refinery is coming on stream in 2022. And there are modular refineries. Unfortunately, most of the modular refineries are not producing PMS. They're producing other forms of fuel. So that's not helping us at the moment. The truth of the matter is that there are difficult decisions to take, and Labour must acknowledge that those difficult decisions will be taken.
Is there
but what government needs to do?
No, just quickly.
What government needs to do,
yes,
Makwe, is convince Labour and ordinary Nigerians that whatever gains would come from deregulated prices will be plowed back into supporting the poor and the vulnerable.
Nigerians had this story before in 2012. There was Shopee. There was a whole stream of things.
And that's why, for me,
right
that's
now,
a wrong approach.
We've been told about automotive gas, whatever it was launched,
the national gas expansion
just a few weeks or months ago.
Correct.
And they were saying that nothing is happening there. We've seen there was a lot of fanfare around that launch. That seems to be on hold
Actually,
right now.
quite a bit is happening. The minister was just in Ekiti 3 weeks ago to launch the Ekiti version.
Is there a lot of honesty and sincerity in dealing with Nigerians on this matter? Because only recently, again, just this week, FEC launched, told us that they're going to spend $1.5 billion to renovate the Port Harcourt Refinery.
Well, I'm not a member of cabinet, so I don't know what informed that decision. But clearly, I believe a level of analysis must have gone into it, and the approval process must have taken into consideration the cost and benefit analysis of that decision. I wouldn't have taken that decision, given the fact that we know that a big refinery, private sector driven, is coming on stream. But I don't have the information that led to that decision at FEC.
So given that, but also looking at the cost of the proposed renovation, can we justify it at all, given where we are economically as a country?
You know, when you are outside a decision-making frame, there are some information that may not be available to you. If you look at it at pure face value, you're right. It may not be justifiable, but we don't have all the information responsible for that decision. And that's why I said, sitting where I am, I wouldn't support it. But I also don't have the information that led to that decision.
Are you hopeful, though, about the continued unity of this country?
Oh, absolutely. I'm an incurable Nigerianist, if you can call it that. Not because we don't have challenges, and not because we shouldn't deal with certain aspects of our nationhood that have generated concerns amongst many Nigerians. But as I argued in my Arewa House lecture a couple of months ago, the way to go is not to talk about secession or division of the country. The way to go is devolution of powers. And I've made specific recommendations around certain items on the exclusive list of the Nigerian Constitution that should devolve to the local level. I think if we do that, there'll be greater accountability at the local level and greater capacity to also respond to issues.